All right, welcome back to another episode of the Play It Up podcast. Today is a bit of a special episode. I've got Luke Bushell with me,
Hey.
recent Donkey Kong Killscreener. How you going, mate?
Pretty good, man. Not bad for a Sunday, are we?
Excellent.
Almost night, but yeah.
Yeah, it's so here it's Sunday, 9:30 a.m. It'll be 5:30 there for you on the 23rd of May. And I also have with me Matthew Tecchio, aka the King of Down Under, aka Tecchio, because he's such a good teacher. Hey, how you going, mate?
I'm living the dream, mate. Good to be here.
Oh, mate, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me, Luke and Matt. I don't have my counterparts with me today, but because it's hard to organize podcast with across 2 time zones and people have kids and busy, I thought, well, we just need to get some stuff out, and we're all going to do some stuff on our own and also keep the podcast going together. So it's kind of how things will go moving forward.
Nice.
But anyway, Luke, we've had you on before, but can you remind us what your first console was and a couple of your favorite games?
Yes, I can. Yeah, this is my 3rd time on the show. My first
You're a
console,
bloody regular.
Yeah, I'm like a special guest regular. My first console, we had a Sega Master System, which would be our first console as a family.
You beauty.
And then I got a SNES for Christmas later on, and then a PlayStation for my 13th birthday. They were the kind of first 3 consoles I had. What was the other question? I forgot.
Some of your favorite, like a couple of your favorite games.
A couple of my favorite games. I am trying to look for some different games now after this kill screen to play. Currently, I do like Metal Slug 2.
Great
and
game.
Outzone. I do like Outzone and Metal Slug 2.
So mostly arcade sort of stuff at the
Mostly a lot of arcade stuff at the moment. I have started playing the Empire Strikes Back on SNES though again recently, which is one of my favorite games.
Don't you have a record on one of those?
Yeah, aren't you the world record holder for something, though?
I have the Star Wars, the first one, New Hope record for that. So I'm thinking about, well, there's no scores up for them, so, you know.
You don't need to tell people that, though.
It's much more impressive when you don't.
The first one is, there's some scores there, but the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi don't have any PAL scores yet. So
maybe that's because no one's ever finished it because they're so hard.
Yeah, I watch people play it now and they're like die like it. I'm like, why are you dying there? It's like, it is hard. The second one is the Empire Strikes Back is even harder. Like I'm playing it now and I'm like throwing the control. Like
I remember finishing them, all 3 of them back in the day. But you know, I remember finishing stuff like Ninja Gaiden and I don't know, all those Mega Man games when I was a kid, and I'm like, how the hell did I do it? Like, I'm an idiot now. Must have been some sort of, you know, Rain Man genius at the time.
Yeah. I did all 3 of them when I was younger. I did like Star Wars one regularly. Yeah, I still find the Star Wars one easy. But yeah, the later 2 I'm struggling with. I'm like, man, you've finished these before. Why do you keep dying?
I think it's just the time you have a kid and also the focus. You have nothing else to worry about. You know?
Yeah, I'd spend like a Saturday just there playing it.
You know? Good old days.
Hell yes. With like no interruptions, basically.
But
so you have to clean your room or something.
Yeah. But mostly arcade at the moment is what I'm focusing on.
I thought you said you wanted to find some different games. So you've gone from an enraging game like Donkey Kong to a really difficult game like Empire Strikes Back, you're just a glutton for punishment, aren't you?
I am, yeah, I'm sure. That's why I'm like, I should probably just play something easier. But I played a cool game. We went to One Up yesterday, and there was some cool games there that I hadn't really played before. One was called I think it's called In the Hunt, which is basically Metal Slug in a submarine. Yeah, you're a submarine. And you go along and which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's a good game. I've seen video of that as like a kind of, I think it was on My Life in Gaming. They did a video about that game and said it's really like similar to Metal Slug, the whole style and the art.
Yeah, I played it for the first time and I was like, this is Metal Slug in a submarine. This is great. So yeah, yeah, I don't know why I'm trying to do this Empire Strikes Back thing. I think it's because I've got one and most will just have a crack at the others. But it's kind of it's not formal anyway. I like playing that game every now and again anyway. So
you're going to be 3-time world record holder once this is done.
Yeah, and two of them, there's no one else playing it, so it's like I might as well just do something with it. People play this game.
Yeah.
Get amongst it.
When you say I've got world records and people say, "Oh, what in?" you can just say, original trilogy, mate.
Yeah. The Star Wars
on the SNES
trilogy.
It's pretty fast.
I might speed run the first one as well, actually. That's another, because I already got the world record for that. There's no power speed
pretty
run
cool. I was there for the world record, man. It was very impressive. I knew the game quite well.
Yeah,
that was good.
We spent a lot of time playing that game. Yeah.
I think we were a few beers deep too, maybe, or we.
No, I think we were sober, I think we were just.
Maybe we were having lots of sugar and junk food.
It was like we were 12. It was great.
Yeah, it was a great time, man. Very cool. Well, Matt, maybe you can give us your what was your first console if you know it, and your couple of your favorite games.
I remember my first console. I couldn't tell you what it was called. It was one of those it was like Pong, one of those Pong kind of clones for your TV. And it'd have
old.
Yeah, it had some dials that you could move up and down, or switches that you could move up and down, and it was like, do you want to play football? Do you want to play tennis? Do you want to play soccer? Let me tell you, they're all just Pong. All right. I think maybe the scoring might have been different, but they're not fooling me. It was just Pong.
Wasn't there one that you put if you were playing hockey, this like clear cello thing that looked like a hockey American
like an overlay.
Yeah. No, this one didn't have any of that fancy stuff. I wasn't made of money. Couldn't afford no overlays. But that was the first one. And then from there, it was like the Atari 2600. And, I can remember playing things like River Raid. And there was this fireman or firefighter game that you had to take, you had a fire truck and a hose, and you had to keep the windows, the fire would come up through the windows. You had to keep the fire out. Weird things that I remember about that. But I remember loving that game as a kid for some reason. It probably sucks. But from there, it was like a NES and, a Master System, a SNES, and it just kept on going, and the consoles kept evolving, and I just stayed the same. So, yeah, long history. I'm an old man now, 42. So,
with that spinnier one, I'm wondering if it was a Dick Smith one.
I wonder if I saw it now, if I could identify it. I might go through actually.
He made because there's those. It sounds similar. There was another brand, like an international brand, like Coleco.
Coleco.
One or something. Coleco.
There was also the Odyssey. They had ones as well.
They had one that was. But I know Dick Smith actually made one too for the Australian market. Yeah, the Dick Smith Wizard.
Yeah, they were usually rebranded Tandy ones. So
yeah. I was just looking that up there, and I'm wondering if that was like.
That's kind of a cool piece of like Australian gaming history. If it's got Dick Smith's head on it,
it'd be interesting to see if anyone has one. Yeah, that like silhouette of his like.
His big noggin
of his mug. Yeah, like that's pretty funny. Like I'm starting to shop, and I reckon my head's good enough to be the logo.
Why not, right? Yeah, just put your face like Bob Jane. You just put your face up there. And
oh, mate, Bob Jane, T-Mart. I miss hearing like the Aussie advertising over here. It's all bloody schnitzels and Wurst.
They still have Saturn or whatever it is over there, the department store, whatever it is. No, am I making that one up? I remember when I was in Germany, there was like a really big,
they do.
Yeah, store, Saturn or something.
Saturn, they call it.
Ah, well, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to butcher the language.
No, that's okay. That's just their pronunciation. Saturn.
So what you're telling me is they're wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize to all your German listeners. I'm a horrible human being.
They do use a lot of English words, or at least what they think English-speaking people use. For a hat, they call it a cappy, not a cap. It's cappy. And phone is handy, which we all know what a handy really is, but they say handy.
So when you went over there, they said, "Hey, do you need a handy?" What did you say?
Handy.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. Let me tell you. Yeah, it's kind of funny that they use a few things, like I can't think of any more now, but they come up here and there, and I'm like, what? We don't say that. Cappy. It's cute though. Like, oh, my cappy. Oh, boys, my cappy. What would your favorite game be, you reckon, of all time, Matt? Or
of all time.
One or two of them, if you can't.
Well, I can narrow it down to a couple.
Puyan.
No, Puyan is not one of them. Although for anyone who hasn't played Puyan, it's worth a good 3 minutes of your time. Give it a shot. I'd say one of my favorite games, probably Mass Effect 2. I like the whole series, but Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorites. Street Fighter 2 as well, especially hyper fighting. As a kid, I have very fond memories of going down to either the fish and chip shop or to the video store, when video stores existed. And they'd have an arcade machine there and you'd play Street Fighter, and I just remember just loving the idea that you were against another person. So I remember always going to the arcades before that, and it was either you're playing along with someone, like, Final Fight, so you're working together, or Ninja Turtles, something like that, or it was kind of a solo affair. But being able to put your skills against someone else, that was a real big deal, and that game and the series has always been very dear to my heart. So whenever a new Street Fighter comes out, I'm there.
Nice, man. Oh, we should have some games. I love Street Fighter.
Would love to.
And the whole thing with, like, you're pitting your skills against someone else who's right next to you. It's a whole different dynamic to like the co-op game.
Absolutely.
And it's like, plus if you lose, you're losing your actual money that you've just put in.
Yep.
And you feel awesome, and you get to go on and kick some ass. And that scene is still like thriving in Japan.
Yeah.
Like the actual going to arcades and playing against each other. I mean, it's not as big as it used to be, but it's still, like, I went there one night when I was in Japan. I just went to the arcade and I had a little like bottle of booze with me, because you can buy them at like any like local Lawson or whatever. And I was just like sipping on that, watching these like Japanese businessmen having the best time playing each other in Street Fighter. It's so cool.
Yeah, there's some amazing
I wasn't even playing.
arcades over there.
Really is. We'll get into that for sure a bit later. So kind of Street Fighter is one of the biggest ones for you, hey? What was the other game you said?
Mass Effect 2 in particular.
Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I've actually never played any Mass Effect, but I definitely...
Well, they just put out a collection, like a remastered collection.
Nice.
It might be a good time for you to jump in, as Microsoft say.
Aren't they really like... They're quite difficult too, aren't they? Those Mass Effects?
Nah, not at all. It depends on what difficulty. I'm playing it through on Insanity at the moment, and I find that the early parts of the game are hard and the last bits are easy, but yeah.
I think I'm thinking of a different different set of games. Dark Souls.
Mate,
I do like Dark
Souls is
Souls.
supposed to
Those
be
are great
super
games,
hard.
but they don't hold a special place in my heart.
No.
Right. You've
I was trying to
quite
play
the collection, don't you,
Yeah.
Matt? Yeah, do you pretty much have every console?
I wouldn't say I have every console.
Kind
I
of the
have
main ones
I have
though,
a-
of like
no, I
Sega,
have-
Nintendo,
yeah,
Microsoft.
you
or-
know, and like, you know, whatever, like the NEC TurboGrafx stuff and things like that, and some of the you know, Atari Lynx and
You have
garbage like that.
TurboGrafx.
Sorry? Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
just
I
say
do.
you have a Turbo?
Yeah,
Let's see how many he has. Let's
shit.
how many do you reckon he has, Shaun?
Consoles, including handheld.
Nah, we won't go handhelds. It'll be too much.
No, and there's too many overlaps. It's like, do you own this version
Yeah.
of the DS and do you own this
No.
version?
Yeah, that's true. No, we'll go so home console. Like you don't take it out of the home and.
I didn't know there was a quiz.
Yeah, I reckon he has. I reckon you have 20.
Yeah, I reckon
yeah.
you got 25.
I
I can't think of many more, but
I was just thinking about how many different 360s I've got. I've probably got like 5 or 6 different 360s.
Oh, we'll say you have.
Yeah.
You have.
Let's talk about unique individual ones.
One of it each.
Yeah, well, hang on. At that point, do you call a Famicom Twin System the same as a Famicom, which is the same as the NES?
No, they would be. They would be.
Console. It's the NES.
Well, yeah, no, they'd be two different ones, I reckon, because they're like.
Because Famicom is the disc system.
Well, the Twin has the disc and the.
It has the
Famicom.
that's a different
both.
console. That's
so
like
you have. Yeah, you can't have 3. That's just like you're not having the Famicom and then the Famicom disc system and then the Twin. It will just be the Famicom and then the system. Because the disc system, I think, that's a whole different.
Well, it's a whole new piece of
console.
technology kind of going on there.
It's
not like a NES. You don't just bang a NES cartridge into it.
Yeah.
No.
Well, let's just say that there's a few because I don't want to be that douchebag. He goes, "Well, I got one of these," and you know.
Yeah.
No, you're not like that. I just sort of be funny.
Yeah, look, I have a strong passion for video games. I always have. It may not be, you know, something good to spend your life on, but I've spent.
It would have some of these have been acquired over time, haven't they?
Yeah, it's not like I had a collector mindset or anything like that. It was more about I just wanted to play games. I really wanted to, you know, I heard there was this cool thing, and for some reason I needed to import something to play it. You know, I needed to play this on the Wonder Swan. I don't know why, but I did.
Yeah. No, I get you. I'm the same. Like I have a PC Engine, and I have like a few, like a Famicom, and also like the Famicom Junior. And you don't really need these things. You can play emulators or whatever. But to actually have the original thing and to feel it and to experience it as it originally was.
I got a new year.
I love it. I got one too, man.
I've actually gone the other way.
What, you've donated all your stuff and said I don't want to play games anymore?
No, I like playing games. I've downsized. So, and because I've gone the emulator route because
understandable
space.
Yeah. It's not a bad choice.
No, not at all.
If you don't need to have the stuff, especially with the mini consoles that you can hack and put whatever you want on.
Well, I just have it all on my computer, and I've actually picked these up the other day from a shop near my house. This is actually
the shitty American style one.
This is actually it is a shitty American
Buffalo
style
or whatever it is. The Japanese one is meant to be top notch, but I'm sure
this isn't too bad. It feels like a SNES controller from the. It's not like there were these cheap ones that were coming out a few. Like you can get them at J-Co. They suck. This one actually feels like a controller.
Oh, nice.
But Sega have actually done an official USB one, like an old Mega Drive one. I got one of them too.
I think they did a Saturn one as well recently.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
And the Saturn controller is nice.
So that's the new one.
Yeah, nice.
That looks good.
On listening or watching this on
they can't see it.
YouTube. They have Luke is holding up a Mega Drive style 6-button controller USB. It looks exactly how it should. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's a Sega one, but it's
official. Sega.
It's licensed. Sega. So
Yeah.
I still have a PlayStation though, because my wife plays a little bit of that, and
Nice.
And I also
Nice.
got point blank for it.
She's a keeper. Oh, yeah, that's the
Mm.
thing. You're like, if you actually want to play point blank, you can. I think there's other ways to do it and emulate, but the
You get an aim
most
track.
straightforward way is, I think, to just get a PlayStation and a CRT.
You can get light gun, not light guns really, but you can get guns that work. I guess they are a type of light gun. I don't know, but that work with USB in a sensor bar. Yeah, they were light gun because they have a sensor bar. So, yeah.
So that's a good
they're
option.
like $200 or something, but they're like, that's for like main cabs and stuff. So
with a good recoil, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah,
that's what the Namco, the gun cons are missing, the recoil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like it's just whether you want to keep the collection or get rid of it, it's not really a big deal as long as you want to play the games. And
I've thought about selling, like, once I get back to Australia, selling off most of the stuff, but keeping, because my favorite stuff is the Game Boys and the Super Nintendo. So actually, more specifically, I kind of prefer the Super Famicom because I really like the box art on all the Japanese games. But Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, whatever, like, maybe I'll sell everything and put some of that money into just getting a sick Super Nintendo collection.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo was probably my favorite console growing up, and may still be one of my favorites. Well, definitely is one of my favorites, but just the variety of games back then, it was so good. If you wanted to play a shmup or an RPG or pretty much anything.
Fighter.
Yeah, I mean,
Totally.
when Street Fighter came, funny story. I got Street Fighter Turbo from Japan before it came out here, and I just remember like everyone else is playing normal Street Fighter, I'm playing Turbo, and it's like I'm the king of the world,
That's where you got the nickname
King Matt.
I didn't choose to be
imported
king.
Street Fighter.
I just had family over there at the time, and they came back and said, "Oh, I bought you this game. I hope it's good." And I'm like, "Yeah, heck yeah."
What?
That's literally how it went. And
I brought you this game. I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Wow, were they right?
I had no idea, and I was it blew my mind. And they also brought me this was a separate time. They brought me Mario Brothers 3 for the NES, and the Famicom cartridges are tiny, so I couldn't plug it into anything. So I had to get a converter eventually. But then I remember going to the movies and watching The Wizard. You remember that? You surely The Wizard. Oh.
Yeah. So good.
Classic. It's a Citizen Kane of video game movies. And
it is.
It is. It really is. It's classic.
And I remember it's the Rain Man of video game
taking
movies.
advantage.
The Rain Man of it's the Rain.
It is. It's the story of two kids taking advantage of a disabled kid.
The table.
It's like we could do an Australian version. We could be like, this is my brother Alan, and we're traveling to Queensland to compete in the Kong-Off.
I wonder if he listens to this.
Sorry, Alan. For anyone who doesn't know who he is, he's a national treasure.
What the fuck's a podcast?
Anyways,
just a question mark.
We love you, Alan. We love you.
We love him. But I remember seeing at the end of that movie, they unveil, Super Mario Brothers 3, and you're meant to be an auto. I'm like, I finished that game. See, I am that douchebag. I finished that,
yeah.
But Street Fighter fighting games on the SNES were a dime a dozen, man. They were great.
Yeah. I have a funny Wizard story, actually.
Please tell us.
Because I remember my friend. Like he told me about the movie The Wizard, and he's like, you should watch it. So this is like I'm in year 3 or something, so I'm like 8, and we go to the Video Easy, and there's a movie in the kids section called The Wizard, and it had some video game, like I can't remember exactly what it said, but it did mention video games, so I got it, but it was not The Wizard that
awesome
Matt's talking about. it was this really bad not document, like these 3 kids had to pass like an exam, and their like video game came to life, and like it was this pseudo Bill and Ted thing, and it was really, and I went, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. And then later on, still in my childhood, The Wizard, they played it on like Channel 10, and I went, yeah, this is okay. This is pure genius.
yeah. This is actually gold.
Yeah, and I was just, I'm like, the movie sucked, and he's like, what? He's like, that's not the movie, dude. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, there's another movie called The Wizard that's real bad.
Oh man, I actually only saw it for the first time early 2020 when I went to Japan. I had it downloaded on my phone or something, and I watched it. It was awesome. I watched it while I was in a capsule hotel in my little capsule. It was great.
Yeah, good movie.
The authentic way to watch the movie, yes. Not the way the director intended.
No, exactly. That's awesome. Well, just let's move on to the old story of Donkey Kong and the Killscreen. Can we start with like, how did you get into Donkey Kong, mate? And what was your journey to the Killscreen? And then tell us how orgasmic it was when you actually got the Killscreen.
My first encounter with Donkey Kong was actually when I was about 18 or 19. They used to have some not low boys, they were cocktail cabinets at Rick's in the Valley.
You spoke about this when you were on before.
And
so we'll go through it again though.
Yeah, they'd just swap between Gallagher and Donkey Kong, and sometimes when I'd have like a skin full of like beer, I'd go and like play the cabs, because what else does a sensible 19-year-old male do when they're half drunk? Is play video games.
Sure.
So yeah, and I wanted to get past the first board, and I almost made it a few times. I didn't know any patterns or like any strategy. I just was like drunk, like trying to figure out the game each time I went in there. So it'd be like a few weeks between playing it. But I then didn't play it again until 2018, when I did a gig with the drummer from one of my current bands at Netherworld, Tony, and he had a PB of like 80k, so he kind of knew how to get through the boards. And he's like, decent. And yeah, we got a whole bunch of coins from Ben as payment tokens. So he's like, "You want to play Donkey Kong?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." He goes, "I'm like, I'm pretty bad." And he goes, "Oh, I'll show you how to get past the first board." So I'm like, "Yeah, do it," because I've never seen it. Let's do it. And that was the first time I ever saw a rivets level. But yeah, he got me through it, and he showed me how to do the little patterns that help you survive when you're learning the game. And then yeah, I kept going. He was sensible and quit before 100k. But yeah, I got the pin, and then I like wanted to. I met you, and I met Mike, and I met people that were playing the game, and we all we're trying to get over 100k or bit 150k, 200k, and then shit just escalated from.
Yeah.
And then I met Matt.
What was your first Kong? Was it 2019?
Yeah, would it? 2 was it?
Mine was number 2.
Yeah, that was my 2.
Yeah,
because you hadn't gotten your kill screen yet. I remember that.
I was a newbie.
Yeah, you were noob. You were flashing everyone though. It was sick.
Yeah, I wouldn't say noob. He came out of nowhere and like smashed a bunch of people.
He was a noob. I remember you'd only been playing for a little bit though, hadn't?
Yeah, a couple of months.
Yeah,
true. So I guess you were new to it. Yeah.
Yeah, to me it was like, I'm going up to some place to play a game, and I didn't know anyone there, and you all knew each other because you lived locally to the place, I guess.
And we were all trying to play.
Probably grew up together or went to the same place and played the games and whatnot. But Yeah,
Yeah,
going
Matt
up
lives
there
in
and
Melbourne,
meeting
by
you
the
guys.
way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
beautiful here.
Matt's in a different city. We're all in different areas. But yeah, so
Yeah,
I kept
you're in Matt's in Melbourne, and I'm in bloody Neunkirchen, Germany.
yeah, Neunkirchen. And I got I got a PB of 250, and then my game really stagnated. And I stopped playing for a bit, and then I think I started streaming, which got me playing more. And I think Matt watched a few of my games and was like, "Why are you? That's stupid. You're gonna die doing that." And then it escalated further, and then would say something like, "Stop doing that, you'll die." And then and I think I got to a point where it was probably at 2019, 2020, where I could get some 500k, 600k games fairly regularly, and I got two 700k games. But it was so mentally
Yeah.
and emotionally draining getting to this point, being so close to it, and then it all falling apart. So getting the will to get that back took longer and longer. So I'd have a few months off playing the game or games in general. It was just to recover from that. It's like, this is going to be it, and then, nah, that's not it. And then I was like, but interestingly with that, whenever I did that and I came back and played it, I'd actually see something that I was doing which was fucked, and I would fix it. Or I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. And that happened recently. I was like, basically each time you get a PB, you go back and you have a break, a new piece of the puzzle kind of forms, which you conquer to help you get further into the game. And yeah, the last one was random barrels on level 5. Just because if they just freaked me out, if they were thrown in on the lower girders, up when I was up on the 4th girder, I could deal with them. Anything below, mainly the 3rd girder, I'd die, especially on the 3rd girder. And I just kind of got used to them. And then by that point, I was getting some, I think, I actually have a list of the high scores here that I was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of 500s, a lot of 400s. And then I had a 400k game, a 350k game, and then the next game was the Killscreener.
Wow, that's
crazy.
I
had a 500k game the next day because I'd gotten that last piece. So yeah.
So what date did you actually get the Killscreener on?
The 14th of
so
this
that was
month.
only 9 days ago.
It was bloody glorious, I tell you what. I watched it and I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, because Matt, you would have seen a few times there where it's just gotten close.
Look, I try not to predict what's going to happen when I watch other people play, because you were playing exceedingly solid. It was really good. I believed you were going to do it. So I think if you tried again, you could do it again. You've reached that point.
Yeah, I'd feel comfortable in the game, but that's another thing that's interesting that you say. It's hard to predict the game, and I think that's what helped me get to the Killscreener, because I didn't think for a bit until very late in the game that this was the Killscreener. I think it didn't actually it didn't not compute. It was like, this could happen in my head in level 21.
Were your hands shaking or anything like that?
Yeah, real sweaty.
Yeah.
After 21-2, the very last pie factory was when I was like, it's the last pie factory. You don't have to do another pie factory. I think I said it on the stream. I'm like, and went,
yeah, I remember. No more of those fucking things.
And then it was the last springs, and I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah.
Springs has got to be nerve-wracking, man.
You're at the top of that board and you're like, if I die on these springs, it's all for nothing. And
yeah. And
yeah.
I remember you went. I think you went on an extra long spring, and the next one was not that much of a short one.
No,
I think it was like a
think
medium.
it was close. Yeah, but you can with the really long ones. You have a lot more leeway. Yeah.
But it was
So,
still
yeah.
nerve-wracking.
I think that kind of helped because, I mean, having two 700k-ish games, like seven, I think, two of them, 712, 760, which is pretty end game. And it all was going to shit. You kind of learn that the game can do anything to you at any point in time. You know.
Oh yeah.
So
for anyone who doesn't know
this,
definitely just like keep your expectations low, kind of.
Yeah, just play the game.
Keep it chill.
Hope you don't die.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Killscreen is in Donkey Kong on the arcade when there's like a mathematical error of some kind, right? And on which board is it? The 256th level?
It's not that many. It's 100. Yeah.
100 and something.
17th.
Right. I'm thinking of Pac-Man.
Yeah, Pac-Man's 256.
Yeah.
Right. So Donkey Kong, it was at level 22.
22
to get to level 22-1, you cannot finish the board. There's not time. So you die and there's no way to avoid it. And that's called the kill screen. That's basically finishing the game. If you're not worrying about your score, like you can't really finish the game if you're worrying about getting the highest score ever. But that's finishing the game. And Luke Bushell did that recently, and it took you kind of 3 years of kind of playing seriously on and off.
Yeah, 3 years on and off.
Maybe 130 people have ever done it, I think, since 1981, right?
Yeah, officially.
Officially.
I think you'd be known previously if you done it like back in the day. So yeah, I'd say it's a pretty safe estimate.
Right.
The first for 2021 too, actually. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
It's a huge effort, man. Like, you know, people talk about games like Dark Souls being hard, but that shit ain't got nothing on Donkey Kong, you know? Like,
no, they have
you can level up your characters, level things up, you can save, you can brute force those games, but well done indeed.
It was my first 1cc of an arcade game too. So,
fantastic.
Which is
very nice.
Kind of like
first one credit clear.
Picking friggin' Mount Everest to do.
That's true. Should have started with something a bit easier, but
easier.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, I guess it's not actually. I think Point Blank, you get to the end of that pretty.
Oh, true. I don't know if that counts.
Nah, it doesn't count. Sorry, Tyson.
Getting the world record though, that's a different thing.
See, that's a different kettle of fish. Pulling points out of that game is like, finding
and the randomness too.
Ugh, it's random trash. Why do we play these random trash games? Random number generators.
Yeah.
So like awesome that you've done it, and it's inspired me to get back into it because my PB is 700k, 700,800. So I'm close. At least I was close.
If you're getting that deep, then I'd say
he's there.
You're either pretty much there, or there's
I think
one or two things you need to like tighten up.
I think it's just like, I think my biggest thing can sometimes be patience, and I have a joystick now, so I wasn't playing it over here because I don't like playing. I can play it with I have like a bunch of different controllers that I can plug in via USB because I'm just playing it on main. But I'd much rather a joystick. So I recently got an 8-bit dough joystick, and it's nice. So I'm started playing again, and got 300 and something thousand in my first game. So I haven't lost it.
No, that's
completely.
Good. Yeah, that's a good. If you're hitting 300s, I think regularly, you're fairly pretty good Donkey Kong player in regards to like.
Then you have the potential.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. That's awesome. And how did it feel like when you got the kill screen? What was Was it more relief than like jubilation, or
Yeah,
a mixture?
it's not it's not a happy feeling. It's
a release.
relief. It's this thing's back. So yeah,
it's like cathartic, kind of like.
So when 1
And
million?
I've
Yeah.
started actually. So I did a PB today. It was 364. I stopped doing bottom hammer on my last man, and it was 4. I calculated this, and it was 40k more at the point of my death than my kill screen game. So
Huge, man, huge.
which is good. I'm just figuring out strats. So I've been talking to Matt about it. Like I was gonna do bottom hammer on the first 4 levels, and do some groupings, but I was dying a lot because it's random trash at that point. But I've actually seen a few things like where if you're grouping, where you can actually stand in the first few levels and no wild barrel can hit you. So I've learnt some new things that I can already see it coming into the game when I play it. Running boards feels really like
boring.
Running barrel boards is not boring, really easy. Like not like no sweat, let's do this, which is
right.
Good. Yeah, I'm not gonna do bottom hammer. I'm gonna point, but like try as many like points as I can where I can, like humping the leg. Or like
humping the leg.
For anyone at home that doesn't know what that means, on a particular stage, you can stand next to Kong if the conditions are right and milk hundreds of points out of his leg. And I remember John McNeil saying that's called. He called it humping the leg, which I thought was pretty funny.
Shout out to McNeil. He's hilarious, man.
But
and shout out to Spacey. Get down there if you can.
Good arcade that.
It's a Toowoomba.
But
yeah,
and just picking up the trinkets on the spring stages and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. That really helps the score.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like I can see now why people say get a kill screen before you even attempt to do any point pressing, because it's actually quite a lot to digest. At the weight of having the fact getting to the kill screen for the first time. So it's now that's done.
Yeah,
it's like I can deal with the frustration of where I should not and should focus energy at getting points, I think, without getting too angry at the game and punching it.
Yeah, don't do an Allen. It's nice that you have another goal. It's not like you have to just like, okay, I'm done with Donkey Kong. You can, it gets, but it's probably also not good.
I was just about to say, I also have to see where I'm personally. I have a kid coming and stuff, so that's
congratulations.
It could actually be a slow burn on that, and that's okay with me.
Nice, not putting pressure on yourself. That's good.
Yeah, so I'm in the time now to figure out where I should push and then I'll just keep doing that. I think I figured it out today. What I should do, what feels best for my play style to get me further points.
Right. And as long as you're enjoying it, and it's giving you like a bit of an escape from whatever else is happening in life, or
enjoyment's a strong word. No, it is like games are fun, but they're also games, and they're designed to steal your quarters, so they'll try to kill you any way you can. So it can get frustrating.
Yeah, fucking brutal, man. Well, you're 103rd ranked in the world, man. I've got the Donkey Kong forum up here. You are 1 place above Johnny Bond. Lick it, Johnny. And Michael Kibbe is 107.
Too. Yeah, I knocked Kibbe down too. A few Brisbane
Lick
boys.
Lick it, Kibbe. So cop that, fellas.
As Alan would say.
Lick it, bitch. Mate, if you get above 880,500, you've taken out Brian Allen.
Oh yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, you could also, if you get above level 60, if you get above number 62, 933,900, that Alan. Is the last remaining Billy Mitchell score
Ah,
on there. So
Oh, his last, his last,
the
except
one that
my
they
Donkey
deem
Kong for him.
as
deemed to be have
legit.
played to be have played on a particular format,
Yes,
and we shall leave
Indeed.
it at that.
yes, we shall. That's a great score. Good on you, Billy.
Boy, you've
Great
got the
score.
shinning. You mean the shining? Shh! I get sued.
Oh man, nice. And I think all the way up at number 7, we have some bloke called Matt Tecchio, 1,168,400.
Mm.
That was a
You
good segue.
absolute animal. Number 7 in the world.
I was number 6, but they knocked me down. That's all right. I'm planning to,
That's
to
right.
fix
Yeah,
that
Justin.
soon.
Justin.
Yeah.
No, it was JP. JP knocked
Was
me
it
down.
JP?
Mm.
JP Burgess, right? He
Yep.
got 1.174.
He's a very good player.
300. Yeah.
But just a matter of time.
Well, you got
Top 10, man.
You came for Hank. It worked.
That was hard. That was. I came for Hank.
Man.
Please,
good
family
on ya.
channel. Yeah, top 10. That was very hard. That was very, very hard. Very.
Man, you did it. Well, let's start at the beginning. Like, what got you into Kong?
Well, my grandmother, she owned an arcade when I was young. And I only got to go
What?
to it. Yeah. I only got to go to it like once or twice. And I remember going to it.
Who
'cause
owned?
wasn't
I missed that. What was that?
His
Who owned
grandma.
Your grandma owned an arcade.
Yeah, but I only got to go there once or twice. It was at the end of the arcade era. And I remember going there and I remember playing, Pac-Man, Elevator Action, Donkey Kong, all those kind of things. And at some point, because I really did not see her very often at all. At one point, I went over to stay at her house to spend some time with the family. And it was after the arcade closed down and she had a Donkey Kong in the house. It was a cocktail one, not a stand-up. And I remember playing it and I thought, people can have this in their house? Like, what is this? What is this magic? And I thought to myself, when I get a job one day, I'm going to get an arcade machine. And that's what I did. When I got a job, I got an arcade machine for Street Fighter to play Street Fighter, right? But Donkey Kong in particular, I kind of forgot all about it. And, then I watched, The King of Kong, which is a great mockumentary. And
it is.
Yes.
It's
and
great.
I thought, how hard can this be? So I looked over at my wife and I go, how hard can this be? And she's just like, yeah, okay, honey, sure. I said, I could do this. Like, yeah. I said, I'll show you. So that's how it actually started.
Show
It was
you,
more
wife.
like, I'll show
Loving
you.
wife, I'll
I'll show you who's boss.
Yeah.
So what I did is I said, all right, I'm gonna play this game. And what I said to myself is every day when I come home from work, I'm gonna play one game. Because when you're starting off, you're really shit, and it's quite easy to get new high scores. So I'd play it. I remember getting to about 120k and going, oh man, I'm the best in the world. This is fantastic.
This is easy.
Yeah. Oh no, it was bloody hard. But I remember going, this is great. I'm getting good at this game. Anyways, I'm playing it here and there and I'm getting 100k, 200k, 300k. And then I hear that there's a Kong off happening and it's in Australia. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I said to my wife, hey, there's a Donkey Kong competition going on up in Queensland. And she's like, you should go. And I'm like, nah, I don't know anyone up there and all this kind of stuff. And then she's like, no, go on. You've been spending all this time on it. Like, just go and you don't have to win. Just go and have fun. So I did. I went up there and I had some fun and I did all right. I came third, I think. And it was just what I noticed when I was up there is that everyone was mates. Everyone got along. Even the Americans who came over that were, friendly and part of the scene. And there seemed to be this thing, like one of the Americans was wearing a T-shirt and it said Kong Club or whatever on it. And it turns out it was a Facebook group where they, talk about Kong and it's like Alcoholics Anonymous, and they, have shirts and caps and cappies.
That's a good
and
analogy.
all that kind of things.
Cappies.
And
yeah,
I thought this
AA
is good.
keeps you away from booze. They encourage Kong things.
They do, and it's
that's
sad.
true.
And then I heard
They
about
encourage
Alan,
addiction.
Australia's greatest Donkey Kong player, at the time, and how he was working towards 1,000,000 points, and it was something he really wanted to achieve. All I really wanted was to get a kill screen. So I just worked away at it, and I remember the first time I got a kill screen, and it was a great day. Like I actually sat down after work to play a game of Donkey Kong, and I was streaming it at the time because I figured if I'm playing, I might as well stream it. And I said to my family, "I'll take you out for dinner tonight, honey." And the game didn't stop. The game just kept going. And the game can go for a while. No, I still took her out for dinner. But she's sitting on the couch with my son, and they're starving. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, honey, but I'm on like level 19. I can't stop now."
Daddy, stop playing Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. They were very supportive. And so I got a kill screen, and I thought that'd be it. And then I thought, oh, look, I've come this way. Maybe I can get 1,000,000. So, go for 1,000,000, get 1,000,000. And it turned out to be like 1.05 or something like that, 1,050,000 or something. So you're getting close to the 1.1 million at that point. And I went, oh, how hard can it be? It's the same thing over and over again. It turns out it's really difficult. It's really hard. But the hardest bit was definitely the jump from 1.1 to 1.38 or whatever it was to get in the top 10. And Hank's score had lasted 12 years or something like that, at least 10 years. It was set a long time ago. And
broke it. It was 9 years old.
9. Sorry, I lied.
Yeah.
I lied. It was 9 years, and that was always seen as a barrier. Players sort of stopped before that point, and I totally get why, because there were days there where I would just, I'd sink 4 hours into a game or more, and it's not healthy. I mean, I spent my entire long service leave basically playing Donkey Kong and ignoring my life. And my goal was to get into the top 10 before I finished my long service leave, and I did it on the last day. I did it at 3 a.m.
Oh.
Well, actually, I did it on the day I went back to work at 3 a.m. in the morning. So I came back off my long service leave, and and I'd achieved my goal, but I was absolutely knackered for work that day.
Should have called in sick.
That was the hardest because at some point the points become exceedingly difficult to get. And it's funny because since then I've done it again twice. And one of those times I was just playing for fun. So you develop skills and strategies, and as long as you don't die, like take some, safe, like you said before, patience is a key thing. As long as you take your time, you've sort of got a baseline. And I think my baseline now is in that top 10 area. So if I push, it goes up. If I don't, it doesn't really go below that. So, that's my history with Kong. The game sucks. Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of joy out of it anymore. So I question a lot why I continue. And it's more because I can, because I know there's more there's more juice.
It's that classic like human trait of just progress for the sake of progress, not necessarily, because it's enjoyable, but it's just part of how we're wired to just, if we can do better, we generally want to.
I think it's the psychological mountain of the game, this game in particular, that there are these, it's got a really healthy community. Well,
very sickly
there's a lot
community.
of people playing it. Yeah, they're all mentally.
We're all nuts.
They got some terrible.
A real healthy community for guys.
It's healthy in that there's a lot of people playing one particular game, and there's like Donkey Kong Forum is they log the scores and stuff, and there's kind of
it's good there's someone keeping track of how much heroin we're taking. Yeah.
And there's levels of heroin taking that they're like there's these kind of key points that have been meted out, and you get little tags on your name when you reach them, one being a kill screen, one being 1,000,000 points, one being 1.1 and 1.2. So I think if there was less people playing this game, you may be able to be set free, but because there's this tiered system of achievement, and I mean it feels great when you got it. I wanted that little badge that said L22 on it.
Spacey's Cafe and Arcade in Toowoomba kindly sponsors the Play It Up podcast. If you are ever in or near Toowoomba, we think you're crazy if you don't give them a visit. Spacey's has loads of arcade and pinball machines, retro consoles, and even air hockey. They have an excellent selection of food and drinks for the whole family, and have some great beers on tap. Spacey's is open Wednesday through Sunday, and you can check them out on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with the awesome events they have going on there. Spacey's is located at 2 Club Lane in Toowoomba. Take a trip back to the 80s with Spacey's.
I was explaining, so this is why, you play the game to a point, it's not enjoyable and it keeps progressing. You just keep going with it. It's because basically all I'm saying is that it's got a health. There's a lot of people playing it and the competition is there. And I think that people are in it together. There's like a lot of people that are like, yeah, we're going to do it. And like we said before, getting to the kill screen, there's not people who've done it. So then you get to that point, it's like, well, I'm here now. Let's get to this point. And it's like, you've probably long gone. Like when I first started playing the game, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then sometimes I just completely hate it now. It's just like, because it's so.
But the community is amazing. Like
the community is great.
Shout outs to people like Justin and Andrew Barrow. These people are supportive and
Dave and Conley.
It's insane. The fact that people will go to the effort to transcribe everyone's scores, every level, to put that on a web page, to make it so that we all have these goals to work forward towards together. And it's not like most communities, there's always toxic people in every community and whatnot. But, in some communities, they'd be like, well, I'm not going to share my secrets with you because, we're special and whatever. If you've got a question in this community, you can just go out there and ask it. And people will just jump in and try and give you their, findings. So
there is a large portion of that forum dedicated to, it's basically a giant help guide.
Yeah.
And it's formulated and maintained by world record holders, previous and current, and,
I try and do my bit. I reckon there's not a day that goes by where I don't get a message where someone says, can you watch this video and tell me why I died?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or, just a message saying, I'm having troubles with this. What should I do? Or something like that. And I never tell people, no, I can't help you. That's just, it's not what it's about. It's like, I'll watch your video. I'll tell you what it is. Yeah.
I'll tell you why you suck.
It was funny. I went into someone's chat a couple of days ago and there were some people in someone's Twitch stream. And there were people in the chat saying, oh yeah, I thought, I thought I was pretty good at something or whatever until I spoke to Tecchio and he said, I just suck at it. And I'm like, oh geez, I don't remember saying that to someone. I must have been joking when I said it, But I think we're all suffering through this community, and anything we can do to alleviate that suffering. It's palliative care. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, it's like suffering care when you die. Palliative care.
Oh god, I still enjoy the game, but I don't know. I have had points where I'm like, fuck this game. When you play well, but then the game just screws you over. But overall, I still enjoy it, but I don't play crazy amount. So maybe that's
a part of me wants to go for the million, but another part of me is like, I should do it. Yeah, absolutely, and I will. But another part of me is like,
get out now.
There are some other games that
that's
you're
exactly
playing
why I don't
one
play it that much.
Yeah, you're playing one game for it's 3 years now for me. Like how much, Matt? What is it? About 3 for you as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And there was
hundreds of hours, right?
Yeah.
There was one time
that's like a bunch of different games that you could have experienced.
Yep. There was one
Sorry,
time
mate.
where
Continue.
I apologize. There was one time where I was trying so hard to get into that top 10. That was all I wanted in the world, you know? And I was neglecting so much, which I shouldn't be, to get it. And I came 100 points short. And it was one of the most heartbreaking, horrible things. And I think on stream, I handled it relatively well. Like, I was like, yep, that was a good score. That was a great game. You know, it's the best game I've ever played. Yep. And I remember turning that stream off and just walking over to the couch and just feeling like the whole world had swallowed me up, that you know, it was a low point. Like, I'd done something great, you know, it was the best I'd ever played in my life, but it wasn't good enough. And I'm like, is this why I'm playing a game? Like, why am I playing this if it makes me feel this way, when I could go and play, you know, a new release game on, you know, the Xbox or whatever? And it does make me think, like, games are meant to be fun, right? Like,
totally.
It's not.
I know that feeling. I mean, it's interesting. Before we started, we were talking about mental health in gaming.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Actually, let's talk about it.
The irony of how a game like this can actually alter your state of mind in a way. And like, I felt quite relieved, and that something had been lifted after getting the kill screen. But before that, like, when you die getting so close to a particular goal, it can be quite like emotionally taxing.
Yeah, it's
crushing.
It's soul crushing.
It's like, you're like, oh, why?
Yeah.
Why am I putting like I could be fluent in Chinese by now.
I could have learned 6 languages by now.
You're 1.1.
What if I spent my time, you know, learning about the stock market or putting this into my career? Like, you know, if I spend this time into becoming a smarter human being, or helping humanity. Yeah.
But also,
true.
That's a dark aspect of it, but there's also, and that's just one particular game, you know, like, there's a lot of good people in the gaming community and a lot of good friendships had, and also games are fun. They are fun, you know. Going for a PB can be, and like the, you know, that high of achievement is great. You know, it's an achievement that a lot of
it's the experience. It's like why people read books, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And, it's the purpose it gives you, the focus it can give you, and like also sometimes the escape. Like, even if you have a great life and you're happy most of the time, it can still be nice to kind of be in a different world a bit and play games and
everyone
get a break from pressures.
Everyone has some form of escapism, and like a hobby is good for that, and you can take the pressure off every day. You know, life. You know, get that getting up, going to work, the grind, and then you coming home. It's like,
I think gaming is a fantastic pastime.
Absolutely. It's, for me, it's the most in terms of like forms of media. I think it's the richest medium, because you can have a great story that's interactive, exactly, and it has everything. It has great music, great stories, and it's interactive, and it's fun, and it's competitive, and can be just a one-player experience. To me, it's just the best art form that I could possibly think of.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's the furthest we've gone as you know, as people, in creating something that's escapist and interactive. You know, you can watch a great movie, you know, you sit down and watch Die Hard and you go, that was a fantastic movie. I love that movie. But then if someone can distill that into the form of, I'm going to play that video game and now I am John McClane, you know, that's pretty fucking rad.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
Hell yeah.
I remember talking
with them. You can fuck as much as you want.
Fantastic.
With a mate about this. Like, there's kind of these revolutions in human history, in art and culture, and like music's one, movies and photos or any form of art, and it's kind of this point is what I'm trying to say is, I guess, is that this is kind of the furthest we've gone in something that's so submersive, entertaining at the same time. Read pop culture, really, like in that regard. And because like these guys in Silicon Valley in the 70s were some pretty far out fringe people, like they were smoking pot in the Atari, like
hot tubs,
computer laptop, hot tubs, and then they'd just be sitting there like getting blazed, like long hair in front of a computer. And that's like, that's not straight. That's not this like, in 9 to 5 stuff. And they created something really, really special. And absolutely. I don't think a lot of people try to paint a bad picture with it sometimes, because it's like violence in video games.
Or people just sit in their rooms and play video games and they don't develop as human. But that's all shit,
Yeah, it's all
like,
rubbish.
I'm a relatively well balanced individual, relatively. And, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love playing games as much as more than I love watching movies or more than I love reading books. There's rich stories to be told. There's great experiences to have. And I know traditionally, when we were younger, video game playing was traditionally a male orientated thing, but I don't think that's the case anymore. But,
no.
Going back to what we were saying before about, Donkey Kong can be soul crushing, right? I don't think learning to play the guitar is probably the same. You don't learn to play a song and then this, guitar beats you over the head halfway through the song.
Actually,
it does?
Actually, it can be. Yes. Actually, there's great parallels between the two.
There you go. I take it all back.
If you're playing and you're on stage and it's not working, it can have the same feeling, that you're trying your best and
it's not happening.
But what one thing I did a jazz degree. I played a lot of jazz back in the day, and one thing when you're learning to play jazz is that you'll play with better people, and you find yourself in some pretty confronting moments where you don't know how a particular song goes, or you get lost in the music, like you don't know where you are, and people like this guy's just looking at you going, where are you, man? That's that can be pretty confronting as well. And like you get off stage and go, what am I doing?
That doesn't sound pleasant at all.
Yeah, but then you get back up and you do it again, and then and people are usually pretty okay with it. It's just like can be a really awkward experience on stage for like 5 minutes when people are watching you. And I think there's a lot of things in life that can do that, not just video games.
I speak from a position of privilege, right? Like I've got a pretty good life. I've got a loving wife and a wonderful son and a house, a roof over the top of my head and all that kind of stuff, and video games galore to play, right? But sometimes you're going to find in life, even if you've got the best situations, that things aren't perfect, or there's going to be times where you question, why am I doing this or whatever, and we all go through it, right? And I think if anyone is listening here and they think to themselves, oh look, there's something that's been making me depressed, or something that I'm not happy with, and I'm having these negative thoughts, there are people you can turn to and talk to, and it's really easy for me to say, ring this number and talk to someone. But I'll speak from experience. I actually see a psychologist every couple of weeks. and my life is pretty good.
Good on you.
But my work is soul crushing. It really is. I'm happy to go on the record and say that the place I work is, we won't say where it is, but it's a very harsh, relentless, demanding place. And I was struggling with it. And, I would come home and I'd see my wonderful family, but then I'd go off and sit and play Donkey Kong for 4 hours until 2 a.m. in the morning every day, And it was getting to me like, what am I doing? I'm not happy, And just having someone you can talk to and getting that outside perspective, you don't have to bottle it up. You don't have to, go on to Call of Duty and troll people and be a douchebag or, whatever kids do nowadays, go and grief people on World of Warcraft or whatever the new hotness is. There are people you can talk to. And even if it's just your mates, like, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Talking about it always helps. I've done the same. I'm not seeing anyone at the moment, but in the past I've seen several different psychologists throughout like difficult periods of my life, been on antidepressants and still on some now actually. Helps with anxiety and depression and everything. It kind of partially runs in my family, and even sometimes it's not because of anything, or it doesn't feel like it's because of anything. It's just sometimes maybe the chemicals in your brain aren't working. Like people get sick with the flu. You can get the same thing with mental health. So for me, it's always helped to talk to someone, whether it's family, friends. It also helps if people check in on you. So check in on your mates. Talk to them anyway and give them a call. Ask them how they're going exactly, and get together with them, hang out. Like if they feel like that, then just do what you can to just let them know that you're there. And if anyone here who knows me, reach out to me. Even if you don't know me, reach out to me. Message me on wherever. Email playituppodcast@gmail.com. Instagram, book playituppodcast.
Yeah, and with COVID, I know it's been really hard on a lot of people. So
totally.
Yeah, there's no harm in talking to people or asking for help or saying, "Hey, I need help," because we're all flawed individuals. Some of us more than
Aren't
others.
we ever?
But, I like to think that as people, unless you're a CEO of some company, you're probably a decent human being. So,
Yeah, and I mean, just talk, like you just said, just getting it just verbalizing it. What's the problem?
Yeah.
If you can.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it's hard because they might not be able to articulate their emotional barometer or thermometer. They can't articulate what that is. That I've got anxiety, I've got depression, I'm angry about this. A lot of people can't. They can't verbalize it. They don't have the tools to be able to deal with it. And I think it does start with just saying something, and that the more you do that, it's like a video game. The more you do it, the better you get. I was shocking at it when I was I've struggled with depression and anxiety and abusing substances and stuff, like especially alcohol, for years. And then a bit over the years, it got too much, and I learned through practice of just talking to people and getting that, like verbalizing how I feel and what is the issue. That the more you do that, the better it gets. Like I had some earlier today, and I just talked to my wife about it, and I'm like, this is what I'm anxious about. And even just after mentioning it, it went away, because it's like a muscle. You got to use it, and like you said, sometimes your brain might have a cold.
Exactly.
So,
I think it's something that may run in, the circles that we live in, speed running communities, high score chasing, that kind of thing. Perhaps I'm just throwing this out there, I'm sure, someone could, do some research into it. But you hear about, this speed runner, had a breakdown and went crazy or something like that. I think there's something to the personality type, maybe
Yeah.
that you obsess over, or not necessarily obsess, but you are hyper focused on things. And I think that
Yes.
hyper focused nature, if you take that away from something fun like video games, you put that hyper focused nature into something like work. What you're doing at work may not be the most important thing in the world, but to you at that time it is, and you need an answer and you need to fix it or whatever. And so you'll think about it when you're at home. You'll wake up in the morning, it'll be the thing that's on your mind and it'll drag you down. And I know, as guys, we're taught from an early age, don't talk about these things. Bottle it up, be a man, no,
be strong,
that
be
shit.
a man.
You want to be strong, confront it and talk about it and talk to someone. Yeah.
That's real strength, hey, like that's not a sign of weakness at all.
Exactly.
Bottling it up is bottling up that kind of it.
That doesn't help anyone.
That's not strength. That's
no.
That's an inability to cope with your emotions and like
you can't overcome things if you don't confront them. So
no, you can't grow as a human if you're if you close yourself off, if you're closing yourself off from yourself, that you can't you can't grow. And
absolutely,
fuck that shit. Fuck that whole
abuse.
Bottle it up and don't cry. Fuck this.
Yeah, if you want to cry. It feels fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Crying's great.
It is.
Put on Star Wars. When fucking Luke dies, oh man.
Woo! Let it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a big cathartic thing. Talking about it, letting it all out, like it really helps, and it kind of normalizes it to yourself instead of it all just swimming around in your head. Like talking about it, getting it out there, and the more people do talk about it, the more it is normalized, and there's less stigma. There's less stigma now than there was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I've actually noticed. Sorry to cut you off. I've actually noticed the community, especially people. Yeah, like late 80s, 90s, the guys play games. They're actually like a lot of them are pretty good at talking about it. And some aren't, but that's okay. They'll grow into it, hopefully. But and I think even though it is competitive, it's not always toxic, or at least
you can have a healthy competition with someone.
You can have a healthy competition.
Absolutely. Giving you.
But if any of you muggles pass me, I swear to God.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. I've got plenty of other games to play. I won't pass you.
Fantastic.
Well,
just the way you were describing it, I'm like, man, I don't want to be.
Oh, look, no, it may not be some, just because I speak from my experiences doesn't mean that that's the experience someone else is going to have. That's, that's something
that's 100%.
Yeah, everyone is different and they approach situations differently. And if I was a younger man without responsibilities, I think it'd be worse for me because I would just fall into this hole of all I do is play this one stupid game that's not particularly good. And what kind of life would that be? I mean, I'd turn out the other end, and who will I become? I'm not going to name any names, but you don't want to be like some of these people.
No, like too much can be bad. I think, and that's another thing I was going to say. Like, it's hard to, especially if you have kids and a wife, and if you have any form of like, you'll sit there and go, I got to spend some time with them at some point. So,
and I've been burning the candle too many ends. You've got work, I've got uni as well. I got family, I'm a dad and I'm a husband. And then you try and stick something else on top of it that requires such a commitment of time. It's like, nah, there are more important things in the world than focusing on just one game, one high score. And sometimes it feels, it can feel like this one thing is the most important thing in the world, whether it be games or work or anything. But I think you have to keep a healthy dose of activities going. You have to remember that there's more to life than this one thing that's causing you so much grief. And it's really hard to tell someone when they're anxious about something that, oh, this will all be fine, it'll all work out. If it doesn't get solved now, is it the end of the world? People aren't going to take that well when they're in an anxious state. But it's true.
No, they can't see that just buck
tunnel
up,
vision.
buck up, little buddy. It's like,
deal with it tomorrow.
Nah, that's the worst thing you can say. If you are going to be if someone does approach this, if one were to approach another about their anxieties or issues of depression, the best thing you can do is actually at first really is to let them speak and not go, oh, buck up camper, it'll be fine.
Yeah, listen.
Listen, just be listening, because they're just probably trying to verbalize, like I said before, that how they're feeling,
And it feels great to let it out.
Oh, it's the best. It's like,
hell yeah.
But but you're also a great Donkey Kong player, so you can't stop.
It's weird. I'll say this to you. I'll say this to you, Luke. When I play the game now, it's not the same game that I played when I was getting 1 million points. It was not the same game getting a kill screen. I don't even look at Mario anymore. This is going to sound like Rain Man shit. I don't even look at my character. I'm looking up here somewhere. I'm at the bottom of the board, but I'm here with this. There's like 8 barrels on the screen or something.
8 things going on.
And all my mind is doing is, how do I merge them all together constantly? How do I make them come together so that I get the maximum amount of points? And it's like
my mind at the moment, because I'm still in survival mode, does this thing, but it's like, how is that going to kill me, and how do I avoid it?
At some point your brain clicks over and you stop caring about. There is no fear of death. You're going to die, but it's like fireballs. When most people see fireballs above the screen, they just go, "Oh God." Right? There's a fireball there. I don't care.
You're thinking 2,000 points if you get
I'm like,
the
oh God,
and
I'm losing points if I don't get up there fast. I don't care about the fireball. It's up the top of the screen now. It's like, okay.
I do know what you mean though, because I have started to think more about that. I'm like, why isn't my score higher than it should
becomes
be?
A totally different thing.
So, which is interesting, actually. Yeah, it's
people finding ways to play games not how they were intended, and I find that as a very interesting thing outside of Donkey Kong.
Yes,
like when they do this Pokemon plays or Twitch plays Pokemon or something like that. Where they get people to play through a Pokemon game using instructions in the Twitch chat, or people finishing games with Guitar Hero controllers, or
isn't there talk of
let's not talk about that.
Dance.
The adapter comes this week.
That topic intrigued me, and like when I mentioned it, I'm like, what about a steering wheel as well? Like,
that one's interesting. But you're the one who said you push the gears up and down. That is really interesting.
Or you could have the gas pedalers jump.
Yeah.
And like if you could
or
do
a
like
flight
that as
stick,
left and right.
and you could tilt it up and down.
So I don't know if
just
Shaun's
play a different fucking game. Jesus Christ.
I don't know if Shaun's in the Discord chat, but like
in
Kong League, someone posted it was some dude has finished Dark Souls or one of these games with like he did it with the Donkey Kong bongo.
Yep, the drums.
Before a Guitar Hero one, like just finishing games on obscure controllers, and then we were all talking about like
I use a power glove,
Yeah, power glove. And Matt's getting an adapter for a Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah, it's coming on Monday. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kill screen because kill screen is relatively. No offense.
Yeah, it's
easy,
like
right?
Once the weight's been
not
lifted,
easy.
It's not. No, it's a monumental, difficult thing. Like no, it's very hard. But
it's psychologically torturing.
Once you get to a certain comfortable level, you can sort of do it relatively often. It's not easy, but you know the rules. You sit within the confines of the rules, and it should be okay. But I'm just thinking like. I can't imagine doing the springs with the dance pad. Like, what if I need to retreat or like there's going to be a
fucking dancing over now.
So I'll make sure I get a nice camera so you can watch me doing my moves while I'm doing it.
Dude,
it's going to be great.
See this.
And I'll get a meal just to spite Alan.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Yeah.
Look how easy it is, Alan.
If anyone has a spare like Logitech,
I don't have a wheel.
Steering wheel. I'll do one. On the
I have the bongo drums. I was trying to figure out how to do the bongo drums, and I couldn't quite figure out how to, like how the hell. So dancing that seems straightforward.
Isn't there only two buttons if it's bongo?
Oh, I think you tap on the side.
Ones.
Yeah, and there's a button in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is enough buttons.
Yeah, so I think you go top left and right to move left and right, but then do you have to keep drumming it over and over to make Mario move right? I don't know.
Yeah, you just
sounds terrible.
It's
the game's brutal enough as it is. You guys are just like sickos.
Yeah, I got issues, man.
It's the sex is no longer interesting, so we're continuing.
So I was at Bartronica last weekend, right? And I was catching up with Jack and Greg Powell and all that kind of all those Melbourne mates, right?
Yeah.
And this chick comes along and she's hitting on me, right? And
really,
yeah. I was very pleased. I mean, I'm a married man. I let her down. I said, no, I'm married, because she said, are you single? I'm like, no. And then she took like the
oh shit,
what was it, the point blank gun and shot herself in the head with it. Yeah.
That's dark.
She goes, oh, you like games or whatever, and I'm just like, oh god, no, I don't want. Don't make me say it. Don't make me say I'm really good at Donkey Kong. Like. I had to go to this thing at work. They were going to retrench. They retrenched my whole team. They retrenched everyone but me. But they made us all go to this thing where they say, we'll help you with your resume and all that. And the lady goes, "Do you have any hobbies? What are you good at?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to be this guy." Like, whenever someone says, "What do you do for a hobby? What do you spend your time on?" or something like that, it's the funniest situation to say, I'm good at Donkey Kong. Like, what is that? Well, that's nothing. But when I'm talking to you guys and you're like, oh, you must be really, you're still good at Donkey Kong, you're really good or something. I'm like, yeah, but what does that get me? Other than socially awkward conversations with people.
Like Walt said, he wanted the chicks to know that he was good at.
Look, she seemed impressed, but I was in a barcade at the time. But imagine if I was good at centipede.
Yeah, you're in the right place.
See, Walter Day, he was just in the wrong place. Didn't he own an arcade? Didn't he own Twin Galaxies? Surely he must have had hot girls come in and ask him about centipede.
Probably just.
I wanted the fame. I wanted the attention.
No, boys want to play.
Yeah.
Games.
And it's such a weird thing because people I work with know that I'm good at it, but it doesn't translate to real life.
No, it doesn't. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, because they know what it is. I actually a guy I work with, because he's another teacher there, and he's an older man, so he grew up with these games. He's like, oh, I love Donkey Kong, and he started humming the actual pie level music.
Oh god, PTSD.
And I went,
really?
And I went, oh, you actually know it? It's like, yeah, the pie. And I went, okay, cool, yeah. But
you should challenge him one day and just power move, just destroy it.
That'd be a strong flex. It'd be like,
yeah.
He'd be like, you bloody young kids, all you do is play video games.
I like to drop into people's streams on Twitch when they're just, playing Donkey Kong and they're like, oh, I got to the third board or whatever, and you just talk to them. And at some point they go, oh, have you played this game? I go, yeah, I've played it before. And they go, oh, so what's your high score? And I'm like, oh, 1.168 million. And they're like, oh, shit. What a douchebag.
Oh, you're pretty good, eh?
You just go on trolling people.
It's great.
Like the gunslinger.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Hey guys, Shaun here. Thanks to everyone who tunes into the Play It Up podcast. We really love doing this podcast and really appreciate everyone who listens. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Play It Up Podcast. You can find the full video podcast on YouTube, and you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Anchor, and more. If you want to ask us a question, you can do so on Anchor, and your question will be featured on the podcast. If you like what we do, please remember to like, review, comment, follow or subscribe, and please recommend us to your friends. Thanks guys, and enjoy the episode.
Yeah, so Matt, I wanted to ask, didn't your wife work for some giant gaming conglomerate company that's a behemoth and taking over the world?
Well,
Which
she
one
did
was that
work.
again?
She worked as a, what do they call them, game counselors for Nintendo back in the day. It was relatively late, actually, in the time period they ran that kind of stuff. It wasn't during the NES time or whatever. It was during the Super Nintendo GameCube time frame. So, a lot of Pokemon questions, a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so she worked for Nintendo here in Melbourne on that hint line for a brief period of time.
Oh, that's cool. And did you call her up and say like, "Oh, you can't help me with Pokemon because I'm too good at it, but do you want to go on a date?"
No, I didn't meet her that way. I actually met her at my current workplace. She was working there doing something completely different. But I didn't know her when she did that. So that was quite a nice little tidbit to discuss, when we were dating. I really like video games. Oh, I used to work for Nintendo and I used to work for Video Games Heaven, she said, So that was sort of like an EB kind of store before, EBs were here in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got some
cool.
interesting
Did
stories.
she have a uniform?
No, she didn't
For
have a
Nintendo,
uniform. She used to often write, so they'd get lots of letters sent in from kids, young kids saying, I really love this and I love Mario, and some disturbing letters sometimes, but yeah, because kids see video games as a way out, escape.
Mm.
So, but she enjoyed the job. She told me stories about they'd have a vault and because they have a computer system, but a lot of the stuff was still in binders. So you'd pull out the binder for Zelda and you'd flip through. Yeah, and
that was on that documentary, the high scores or something like that. And they went into the belly of how these Nintendo.
Yeah, we watched that. And she said she was upset that she didn't get a cool shirt, jacket or whatever in Australia. They didn't get that.
Yeah, that's what I was.
But they had, they had these like Zelda Metroid folders, all hand on and stuff.
And they contribute to them. So as they played through games and whatnot, they would update those folders, and that would get passed around between the other countries. And often they would do beta testing for localization. So for some reason, she said that Japan kept sending pachinko games over. Would this work in Australia? No, pachinko games not really gonna work. But
yeah, because each region would have like its hits, like Mario and Zelda and stuff. Because it'd be impossible for them to all know every single.
Exactly. One of the good things about her working there was that we got a copy of Paper Mario for was it N64? I think that was a Blockbuster only release. So every copy in Australia basically has a giant Blockbuster sticker on the damn cartridge. And they didn't release many of them, but we've got one that's absolutely mint straight off the,
that's
line.
Cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so she still keeps in contact with some of the people that she worked with there, and I think she has very fond memories of that. I like to throw it out there every now and then too. It's a nice little thing to to amaze people with, even though I didn't do it.
Very cool.
Nah, it's a cool job. Cool. Nice. Would be a cool job to have.
Yeah, they didn't pay too
and
well.
You've been. Well, I guess they got to make their profits. Maybe that's why they're still successful. They're harsh business people. So, speaking of a Japanese company. Smooth segue. You've been to Japan, right?
Oh yeah, once or twice. Yeah.
A few times. How many times have you actually been, if you don't mind?
I don't know, at least 10.
Awesome. I've been 3 times, so that's
It's an amazing place. It's my favorite place outside of, Australia. I try to get there every couple of years. We'd been going basically every year for a while, and then COVID hit, and we had a trip planned actually for early, I think it was like March 2020, and that was when they were starting to shut everything down, so they cancelled our flights. We weren't able to go. But if you love video games, I mean, as a kid growing up, there was no place more exciting than wanting to go to Japan and check out Akihabara and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I went was in 2000. My father was going over there for some nonsense like horse racing or something like that, and he said, "I can get you a cheap flight," and I went, "Yeah, all right, I'll go and do my stuff. You go and do your horse racing." So I went over there, and I remember going through Akihabara, and I saved up as much money as I could, right? And I took as little as I could in my suitcase, and I just went over there, and I just started going through and buying all this stuff. And I just remember, like, I've got buckets of shit, and I'll just like because I'm moving house right now, right? Buckets of shit, and you could go and you could buy Mega Man and
that's cool.
Mario Brothers and that. That's like $2, right? $2.
It's still cheap there, isn't it?
It's not cheap anymore. It's cheaper than like going to eBay or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And they take really good care of their stuff. So they'll play a game and then they'll get rid of it, right? The next day, and it'll be still in the box and stuff like that. So I remember going over there and just buying junk. Like, let's just, like, I'm never going to play this. This is WrestleMania for like the NES, right? But I bought all these games, and they go, well, you buy all these games, on your way out, you get to choose something from the junk box. So I'm looking through the junk box. I'm like, I recognize Hulk Hogan. I'll take that. So back in 2000, things were dirt cheap. You could go in there and get a Neo Geo for like $100. Right?
Well, that's when all of this stuff, it wasn't retro yet.
Yeah, and nobody wanted it.
It's like PS3s now. They're like $50 at like.
Yeah.
And,
I picked up a Wii, a Japanese Wii for $3 or something at Hard Off recently. Nobody wants
I got when I was
That's awesome.
I was 15 at that point, and I remember that period because everyone was playing PlayStations and Nintendo 64s, and my mate at school sold me his Mega Drive with like all these games for like $30.
Hell yeah.
And then like
heaven.
My brother's mate came down with all his old, because it had a Mega Drive to Master System to Mega Drive converter. So he just came with like this stack of old Master System games and was just like, there you go, because no one wanted this stuff anymore.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is junk tape.
I wish I still had that stuff, but moving around, you lose it.
You lose stuff. As I grew older and kept going back, my tastes or my interests kind of developed. Like, there's only so many NES games or SNES games you want to play or whatever, right? And at some point in my life, I'm like, I've got to stop buying shit just for the sake of buying shit. Like, you've got to downsize your collections and all this, and just keep the stuff that's worthwhile, that you're interested in. But as I've gotten older, and I've gone back there, there's some places now that hold a real interest to me that wouldn't have back then. And that's like the arcade scene, because of Kong Offs in Australia and places like Netherworld and Pinkady and that. I've got this renewed interest in arcades. So going to Japan, there's this beautiful arcade called Mikado, I think it is. And it's just near one of the train stations. For the life of me, I can't remember which train station it is, but you'll know it because they play the Astro Boy music when you get to that train station.
Awesome.
You literally leave the train station, turn around on the left, there's this little alley, and it's like a retro arcade museum.
I went there too, man.
Yeah, it's really great. And there's another one they see it more as a museum as well in Akihabara. It's a really tiny one, and they open up at really irregular hours at like we'll be open this Friday night, or we'll be open this Sunday, or whatever. And you go in there, and it's full of games like, I couldn't even name half the things. Weird Tato racing games this week, and then next week it's got this, and it's like you're playing these obscure arcade games that, and then there's a store called Beep. Did you get to Beep in Akihabara?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah,
I
you
think I
go
tried to get to all of them,
downstairs
like-
into it. And it's it's full of like old 80s and 90s Japanese PCs and PC games and stuff like that. And they have some arcade stuff as well. But you can go in there and you can just buy an arcade poster from R-Type or whatever. And it's like, I got to get me some of this and bring it home, like an original, imagine if they've got an original Donkey Kong poster or something in there. That would be freaking rad.
I was going to ask, did they have the original Japanese DK floating around over there?
The funniest thing is I have never run into a Donkey Kong in Japan in its arcades.
Yeah.
I know there was a fantastic Donkey Kong player in Japan called, his handle or online, gamer tag or whatever is called Akuazu. And he's really good.
Oh, he's top 10.
Yeah, he's really good. And
is that who that is?
If you go watch his video,
right.
if you go watch his gameplay, he goes to an arcade and he plays Donkey Kong in the arcade. They bring out the board for him. It's like in bubble wrap. And he plays it on the spot. Yeah. So there are these arcades in Japan where people will come to set high scores,
Wow.
And
so
they
cool.
literally just unwrap the bubble wrap, they put the board in, he plays it, and at the end you can see him, he turns to the camera, he's like, thumbs up.
Oh, look at that. Got it.
Dude.
It's on it. It's so cool because it's so Japanese. It's on an Astro City. That's
yeah.
So, he plays it on an Astro City.
They don't have the Western cabs, right? And
no,
I mean,
it's just a vertical Astro City.
They didn't do. I'm pretty sure they didn't do stand-up Donkey Kongs in Japan. I'm pretty sure they only have the cocktail versions, the white Nintendo cabinets, and the American ones were the ones that were stand-up that we're used to. So I have never seen a Donkey Kong there. There's a fantastic pinball place in Osaka. If anyone gets over there, it's called Silver Top Pinball or Silver
Ball Planet. I think
Ball Planet. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I went. It was insane, man.
So good. I came across that by mistake.
God. Really?
Yeah, I was just wandering around and I saw this sign, Silver Ball. I'm like, pinball, maybe? Let's go have a look.
Yeah.
And it was just the most amazing collection of American pinball machines in the middle of Osaka. And I just wish, Brisbane has
it's
a wonderful
at the top of like
culture.
a shopping center, right?
Yeah, it's in the middle of a mall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Melbourne doesn't have anything. It doesn't, we have Bartronica. It's a lovely place, don't get me wrong. Definitely more a place to go and drink and have fun than it is to play arcade games. It's definitely not a museum. But
we're pretty blessed up here with
you guys have a good
one up amazing. I went through there yesterday and their collection is just phenomenal, and they have all the
they're amazing.
Have the Astro City side of it, and it looks like a Asian arcade, so it's like, because I used to live in Hong Kong, so it's like you go into these arcades, like in Japan, it's just like
I've never been there. I would love to.
It's not as in depth as Japan with that stuff.
Maybe not so much nowadays as 10 years ago, but
10, 20 years ago, it was just like, do you want an Astro City? Because there's like lots, just so many, and then like some Dance Revolutions in the and like Guitar Freaks and stuff. So
if we go back to Japan, talking about Japan like we were before, I saw some really depressing images over the COVID period. A lot of arcades closed down, and I just saw these pictures of 30 Astro Cities sitting in the street,
Man.
And it's like, what do we have to do to get those here, or something like that. And
that's so sad.
Japan's still just a beautiful, beautiful place to go if you're into video games of any type. I don't know if you guys have any places that you love, but if anyone here is thinking of going, it is worth it. There is no place, I think, in the world that has such a love and reverence for those things. I mean, I was in the middle of nowhere and they were doing a live action Space Invaders. So it was this event where they just played Space Invaders
What?
music, but like rave version of Space Invaders music, and
they're
you
all
clap your
dressed
hand,
up
you
as
clap your hands in time to cause like these things to shoot up, to shoot the aliens, and they'd like projector aliens coming down. It was mind blowing. This was in the
What?
middle of nowhere.
Wait, if you clapped
That's
your
so good.
hands, then that would shoot?
Yeah. So I've got a video somewhere on my Instagram if you want to check it out, or I can send you a link later. But yeah. it was people in the audience would clap their hands, and the more you clapped for certain times, the faster it would shoot, or you'd have to. It was weird. But my son loved it. He was
That's
very young at
insane.
the time, and he's sitting there clapping away to try and keep the aliens away. And
That's
there's
so
someone
cool.
yelling in Japanese into a microphone, in high-pitched Japanese girl's voice, saying, you've got to protect the planet. And
that's so cool, man. They love it.
they do. They accept it
One
as
of
a
the
part
best.
of things. Yeah.
They do. They really see it as a worthwhile hobby, and completely legitimate sort of way to spend your time.
They basically invented the whole part of it as well, like a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
So. Definitely. Yeah. Sony and Nintendo, they're both Japanese companies. So
Sega,
exactly.
Yeah.
Neo Geo. I can't remember.
That's
it.
SNK. Yeah, they were Japanese.
Yeah. Right.
I think they're owned
One
by
of the best
a
shops.
Saudi Arabian dude now or something.
Oh man.
Taito,
one of the best shops I went to was in Hiroshima. I went there and saw the memorial museum and everything, which was
it touches you. It does. There's something to be said.
Really, yeah, definitely. I recommend checking that out. It really gives you a different perspective on life, and it.
Yeah.
We were getting through it, me and my mate who I went with, and towards the end, we both felt super low. We had to kind of leave.
It's a horrible feeling. You're not responsible for it or anything like that, but you still feel this horrible, heavy feeling of, man, this was bad. This nobody deserves this. This is, and then you look around though, and you also see the beautiful city of Hiroshima and the people that live there, and you think, this is, they've done an amazing job rebuilding. It's such a strange feeling.
My grandfather was, after the war, he was an emperor guard and part of the expedition forces there. We've lost them now, but they're these original photos, Nagasaki, where the other bomb fell. I remember seeing him as a kid, these black and white little Polaroid kind of things, and
words can't do it.
Shit.
There was a dude who was in a basement when it happened, and it leveled everything, but he was in the basement and protected from the initial blast and heat. And he came out of the basement, and I assume he just looked around and was like, shit.
Well, with Nagasaki, they were just, because they have the military headquarters would have blips of where power's running and all this stuff, and they said the Nagasaki went just turned off, and they were trying to get on the phone. It's like, what's going on? And
that's why nobody wins in wars. Nobody.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. And the effect is long after that initial blast. People, all the effect from the nuclear radiation and everything hit people for a long time, years and years. I'm not sure how long, but different sicknesses that you get from that kind of stuff.
It's an interesting thing to bring it to video games. It's you can tell period video games of especially military ones, of who was the enemy at the time.
Are you killing the Russians today, or is it the Taliban?
It's
the Russians again now.
In the 90s, it is. in the 90s, it was the Iraqis, you know, and like you look at Desert Strike, the dictator, it just looks like Saddam Hussein. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
North Korea, you know, yeah. These are the villains of today, I guess.
It's almost like an ethical question. It's like, are these propaganda tools? You know, like,
True.
And it blows my mind.
Really,
I say it blows my mind to think that in this day and age, we still have people around the world who want to fight wars or, you know, expand their territories at the behest or at the loss of others. Like, stay inside and play video games, people. Like,
solve your conflict over a video game.
Yeah, and people, armies use games to, you know, to recruit nowadays.
That's kind of where I was getting. Yeah, like it's such a powerful technology that it's used for recreational good, and then there's this kind of almost sinister side where it's, you know, it's used as almost battle simulator and flying, you know, like flight simulators. They're basically very, very expensive video games, you know.
Totally. Yeah.
Train simulators, flight simulators.
Yeah, space simulators.
For sure.
So it's a wide and varied world of video games.
It is. Absolutely.
Like all art, it's like a mirror image of the society that it's, you know, around it. So
true. Wise words.
We are getting very deep.
Yeah.
I haven't even had a beer.
I like it.
No.
Yeah. We're all sober as judges. Well, when I was going to say, when I was in Hiroshima, that was actually where I found the best video game store. It was like I guess all retro stores are kind of like op shops, right? With like secondhand stuff. But this was not a hard off or one of those chains or anything. I think it was called Levi, and I wouldn't have known about it because it didn't show up on Google Maps or anything as a game shop. But I had to get okonomiyaki, which is like a savory Japanese pancake made of like cabbage. It's freaking delicious. Absolutely delicious. Everyone out there should try okonomiyaki. And
okonomiyaki?
Sorry?
Nothing. I'm just being a douchebag.
The guy told me, because we were talking about games and had Vita with me, and I showed him. He was a Japanese dude and he loved games as well. And I asked him, are there any like really good shops around here? And he told me about this place, and I went and looked at it. Wow, this is like so much cheaper, because I'd been to like Super Potato and super expensive.
Great name.
Yeah,
that's an excellent name.
Good. They sell online now, by the way.
Like,
so you can order from them. I guess not having all the tourists due to
overpay
COVID.
from over here.
Yeah, they've lost all the whales.
Right. Yeah,
so
it's really
this,
not
this store
somewhere you want to spend too much money.
It was good.
Yeah, it was more like an op shop feeling, but obviously they still took care of stuff. Yeah, it was super good. Like Surugaya is quite a good shop.
That's very good.
Prices are decent.
You can work for them at the moment. Go to their
really
website.
Fair.
They take expats. If people want to go and like live and, you know, stay in Japan and get a really, you know, low paying job or whatever, they'll help pay for your accommodation and stuff. I assume it's not a great job, but, you know, I assume that it might appeal to anyone who's younger and just wants to get over there, you know, like.
I mean, you probably get discounts on games.
You probably do. I would be interested in finding out about this store. If you remember where it is or something, let us know.
Yeah, I think it's called Levi, like Levi, as from what I remember. I got a bunch of stuff from there because it was so cheap, like 100 yen for a Super Game Boy.
Wow.
You know, like the cartridge, which is basically $1. And that's just an example. Like there was so many games and it was so cheap. I guess because it's in Hiroshima, which is not, you know, Osaka or Tokyo. But also, I don't know why, it was just so cheap. And I went in there, I had a few drinks with my mate already, and I was just like, holy shit. He actually bought a ice blue Nintendo 64, and So many.
I think
I
you
bought
remember.
heaps. I think I bought 17 different games.
I think you remember. I remember you telling me when you got back. I think you did. Levi sounds familiar from that conversation.
I rented a car.
Not sure why.
Yeah.
I rented a car just for the laughs. Which was an interesting experience, by the way, driving in Japan. I ended up in some tunnel where the GPS doesn't work in the tunnel, and the tunnel went for 15 minutes or something. And so that was interesting. And then also a policeman pulled me over. And I thought, oh God, what have I done? And he just gave me directions.
That's so Japanese.
There was some roadworks going on somewhere up ahead or whatever. So he pulled me over to inform me, go around this way. Well, that was really nice.
That's really.
But what I found, if you're in Japan and you want to get video game stuff cheaper, right? Obviously, you don't go to Akihabara, but the selection there's amazing, right? But the further you go out from the main cities, the cheaper it gets.
Yeah.
And, even if you're in Tokyo and you're not going outside of Tokyo, as long as you don't go to Akihabara, like find the hard offs and the book offs in further out prefectures, and the prices drop massively. And if you go to the southern part, so if you're down like Hiroshima and that, they have, I think it's called Mangasugas or something like that. It's basically hard off, but for the southern part of the place. You go to places like that. And yeah, I just found that as I went from place to place, so there was this wonderful arcade in Kawasaki called the Kawasaki Warehouse. And it was themed like Kowloon City or something. So everything looked run down and that. But then you go inside and they have the most amazing arcade stuff. And they had like a bootleg corner. So it was Mr. Da instead of Mr. Doe, and like knockoff Pac-Mans and knockoff this and that. It was great. But there was a place just across the road from there that just had like a book off. And it's not just video game stuff that you can get cheap there. But if you're looking for like, figures like of video game characters or soundtracks, like if you just like video game music or something like that, you can probably just, go in and pick up, something for like $5 that, in Akihabara new is, $50 or something like that. So,
yeah, that's so good.
And that's one of the things I really loved is going through and just buying soundtracks for like Secret of Mana and old NES games, just stuff like that.
Beautiful artwork, man.
Yeah, it's like my love of video games isn't just playing them; it's everything around it. So there's a lot of shit around this house. But
you mean treasure?
You can't get that stuff. So there's this place in Tokyo, Nakano Broadway. It's called. Have you been to Nakano Broadway?
Sounds really familiar. Is it kind of?
It's like a big
mini
shopping center.
Akihabara?
Yeah, it's kind of like, imagine going to a mall. I don't know which ones are in Queensland, but a large shopping mall.
Westfield.
A Westfield. But every store is a video game store, or every store is a nerd otaku store. So this store sells figures. This store sells wrestling, stuff, nostalgia stuff.
Yeah.
This one sells video games, but it's just that's what the whole place is. And I took my son there when he was about 4, and I said, you've got like $16 or whatever. You can buy whatever you want, or it was probably more than that, but it was like you get one thing, right? So choose wisely.
Yeah.
Of all the things, he was obsessed with Kirby, right? But instead of buying a Kirby, he buys like this spike enemy called a Gordo or something. It's like this round thing with spikes out of it. Like they're in Zelda as well and that. Like, yeah. So, I'm taking my son there, and he had the time of his life just going through all these stores and seeing all these figures and stuff like that. And you can't do that here. You just can't,
No, it's not the same. Like you'll get your odd game shop here and there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I went to that mall or not. Is it a leveled mall or is it a strip
leveled?
Mall?
Yeah, it is leveled.
I know I looked it up, but I don't think I ever made it to there.
It's a strange
There's
place.
just so many options.
Yeah.
There's a similar spot like that in in Hong Kong. In the
Yeah,
Shui
I've heard of
suburb.
it. Yeah.
So much counterfeit stuff going on.
Yeah,
there.
the difference was there was no counterfeit at this place.
Yeah, this one, it's like there's
Japan seems
a lot of
kind of
burning.
immune to the counterfeit stuff.
Yeah, I think they have very harsh laws around it, and it's enforced. Like all those video game bars that got shut down, because you can't play out video games in that bar or whatever. So
did they? In
so one of
Japan?
the bars got reclassified as a museum or something. And so if you're a museum, you're allowed to show works of art and stuff like that, and you're immune to those kind of laws. It was very clever.
They do have
sneaky,
pretty strict
sneaky.
property, like intellectual property and like moral laws and stuff like that.
I guess that kind of
China,
shows in
it's like counterfeit central.
Yeah, like doesn't. Yeah. I never saw any like fake on cards or games or anything in Japan. It was all, which is really nice to not have to worry about like, oh, is this real or not?
Yeah,
because you can
there's
get
Pokemon
good
stores everywhere.
fakes.
So maybe having the availability removes the need for people to go and get that counterfeit stuff. Maybe
you don't really need to worry either, because they're not going to sell you. Well, the ones that I encountered, they're not going to sell you something counterfeit at like legit price,
right?
It looks dodgy. It's like $5 for like.
That's not Mario. It's Mario. Yeah.
And it wasn't just video games. It was just like software. Like you want some obscure word processor there. It's just this like skyscraper of like it was really cool. Yeah, like
you should get Asian copy of Windows XP.
See, mate, I reckon we should all save up some money and go for a nice trip to Japan.
Dude, we should.
At the time of our life.
Absolutely. I'm so down for that. The last time I went, it was like I was going to go on my own because I just wanted to do video games. Food, see a bit of the culture, but it was like this is going to be a video game trip, and it mostly was. The mate I went with was not as into gaming as me, not even close.
Can you tell us about Germany? Do they have any weird kind of retro game stuff going on? Like, are they in the UK, they're interested in their Sinclairs and their BBC Micros, but what's the go in Germany? Is it just
so far like it's sort of similar to Australia from what I can see of like what's listed online.
Okay.
Nintendo Game Boys are like I've bought a few games here because they're a bit more affordable than in Australia.
Oh, that's interesting.
At least maybe I've just found some good deals because there's still people trying to sell them for a lot, but it seems easier to find a good deal here. Maybe they're not as interested in it. But there's not really much that I know about it. I'd love to be able to go to there is a retro game shop nearby. It's really small, not amazing. But hopefully, because things are still closed here, like we're just getting to the point now where things are going to be open. There is an arcade I want to go to, but it's not retro. It has a few pennies, but that's good enough for me. Like I just want something. But yeah, a lot of my retro gaming experience here is kind of had on my own, which is all right. But I miss the whole like community feel of what's back in Brizzy. Yeah.
I heard a really interesting story about gaming in like Poland or whatever. So back in that era where you had your Commodore 64s and stuff like that, the radio stations in like Poland and that would play the sound, when you press play on the tape. And then people at home would hit record on their cassette decks, and that's how they would like share pirated games and shit like that. Isn't that
because they were
really
all on
interesting?
tape?
Yeah, it was audio.
It was all tape data. Yeah.
So you get one tape, you press play, and you can play. You get the double tape deck, and that's how you would copy a game. So what they did, the radio stations would play the game over the
Oh, wow, that's like broadcasting
that's amazing.
piracy. That is so crazy and cool.
But it's not like they can get in trouble maybe for
Well,
broadcasting.
I guess
it,
back in
where
that
maybe
day
the
they didn't
laws, there's a
care, right?
loophole.
Like,
Probably
yeah,
communist. It's like an Eastern
Yeah,
Bloc country, I think.
yeah, it was
Poland.
probably a communist bloc country, and
Yeah,
it's like, well,
they're
everything is
just-
public domain, right? So
Yeah, they're sitting there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Playing their Crazy Kong. Going, this is Battlefield.
yeah, that Donkey Kong's bullshit. This Crazy Kong, that's
Yeah.
where it's at. This is
Yeah.
the legit.
And that's crazy. Yeah, that should be like part of a gaming history documentary.
Someone
That would
should
be pretty cool.
look into that.
It is so much history with video games. Like, even though it's still kind of a new medium, it's going to be interesting to see where things end up going forward. Like how realistic gaming is getting, and the move away from physical to digital. I guess there'll always be something physical because people still will want that. But I think at some point, I don't know, that nostalgia and history of like the physical stuff might not be.
It's difficult with the digital stuff. I mean, obviously there are people out there who they just basically go and they scrape content distribution stuff to download, every game on the PSN or Xbox or whatever, hoping that one day down the track, someone's going to be able to emulate it or something like that. But, games change now. Like, you can buy a game in a box and plug it into your console, but it doesn't do anything other than unlock the, online thing that it downloads. Because what is Destiny now versus what it was when it came out? Or,
exactly.
What can I play it without the server behind it?
I mean,
if someone wants to play the Matrix Online now, can they? I don't know.
I bought a PC with it doesn't have a CD drive.
Yeah, it's weird.
But also, they're pretty good with backwards compatibility stuff. Like Steam has a lot of the old games and stuff.
Xbox has been pretty good with it too.
Xbox is good. PS have been a bit shit.
Yeah, and then Nintendo's the worst, but they'll always be happy to resell you something. Like, they're happy, at least they resell that shit. Like,
true.
I don't know. I don't worry
they
about
make
10
cool
years
little
from
collections
now.
and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
They'll sell me the ROMs back for a premium 3 years from now. So.
Well, that's. I mean, they monetize the emulation.
Yeah, clever, I suppose. And I've got no problems. Look, I think companies should offer these things where they can. It's no use just letting things die because, that looks old, or I don't see the value in that, because you may not see the value in it, but maybe Luke sees value in it because as a kid he played this game and it's important to him,
Yeah.
Get M2 to make an awesome collection of your old stuff, and they'll add a few things to it. For anyone who doesn't know, M2 is like kind of the go-to if you want someone to like the Japanese business, and if you want them to emulate something, they do like the best they possibly can, and they'll add some extra features. Yeah, so cool. There's a documentary on YouTube about them, but very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I might have to wrap things up, guys.
Thank you very much for the invite.
You wanted to add?
I could
not
talk
a problem.
Years.
Definitely want to do more of stuff like this. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. We'll have to have you guys on again. Yeah, I love it.
I had a great time, mate.
But good luck with your Donkey Kong. Yeah, thanks. Me too. I really enjoyed it. Good luck with your Donkey Kong conquests. You're aiming for 1.2, are you, Matt?
Yeah, 1.2 seems reasonable.
Reasonable. Is that end game, or is that?
You never say never.
You want to be number one.
I said never. I do not want to be number one. Never want to be number one.
He doesn't have a beard yet, so I think he's fine.
I haven't hit puberty yet.
Yeah. He looks sane. He's acting sane, so.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, just want to be the best I can be.
Good luck with everything.
Good luck, Luke.
Thank you.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And good luck being a dad, Luke, and continuing to be a dad, Tecchio.
I'll do my best.
And
enjoy Germany.
How that million-point game goes with a baby on the way. It's
baby under one arm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you can joystick
the baby
with
to push the jump button.
He can sit in the thing at the front.
Yeah, beautiful.
There you go.
He'll probably like it because it's a screen.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Well, you take care of yourselves.
Take care, guys.
Yes, you too.
Chat.
Thanks.
Speak soon.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.